Hello, and welcome back to another Nottingham Forest video. Nottingham Forest have lost 2 games in a row, and right on cue, the monumental head loss is back. And some of the fan responses that I've seen online have been insane, quite frankly. Nottingham Forest are still 3rd in the Premier League, yet the way some fans are acting, it's like we're going to be relegated if we don't win our next game. Seriously, lads? What's going on? Now, don't get me wrong, I don't like it when we lose a game either, but this season we've done a lot more winning than we have losing, and we have 6 league games to go, 5 of those against opposition that we've already beaten this season. So things are looking up. Our next game is also against a very bad Spurs side, so I have cause to be quietly confident, and they are playing in Europe as well, so have a lot less rest than we do, which can only work in our favour. This is also a Tottenham side that lost 4-2 to Wolves last week. Wolves, how bad do you have to be for Wolverhampton Wanderers to beat you 4-2? That's what I'm saying. We'll be alright, lads. We'll be okay. But onto, the main crux of this video, and that is the head loss surrounding this loss to Everton. And I want to split this video into a few parts to just give my thoughts and make it a little bit more organised than just my usual rambling self. So I will be reflecting on the loss to Everton, our lack of business in January, and is that costing us? And are we bottled jobs if we don't qualify for the Champions League? I'm going to cover all these things in the next few minutes, so let's just jump into it, shall we? Yes, the loss to Everton was really disappointing, and it was a loss in the most brutal of ways, dying at the death to a 90+4 minute goal, which just hit like a dagger through the heart. And much like most of our games against Everton, it was a really hard watch. I feel for any Everton fans that have to watch that month in, month out, because that was depressing. It was tough to watch. I thought that Nuno put out a pretty solid lineup. Jota Silva took the place of Elanga in the starting lineup after scoring our only goal against Villa. And Chris Wood finally made a return after injury, which is good because our other striker, Taiwo, was injured again. Our bagsman is back after his injury he picked up with New Zealand on international duty. So, we've been saved. Although he was quite anonymous in this game, as were quite a few of our players, to be honest. And for me personally, I felt that we just played right into Everton's hands and just could not get going the way we wanted to. Everton love a bit of lumping up football, and for some reason we played like that. It's not the usual Forest that we've watched this season. It was very strange how Nuno approached the game, almost as if he was setting up for a draw from the very off, which is strange when we're at home against an Everton team that have been better recently but aren't renowned for being a good club in recent times. So that was strange, and the football we played was pretty bad, to say the least. I can't think of many players that covered themselves in glory in that match. But some of the reaction that I've seen to this game just doesn't make sense. Like, listen to this little clip from the wonderful people over at Forest Fan TV, and just, tell me what you think.
Murillo has got to learn. Because, Rob, you say you're not going to dig him out. He needs digging out. He needs slapping in the fucking face.
To me, this just isn't acceptable. Yes, Murillo was at fault for the goal that cost us the game, but this is not the way to vent that anger. You can be angry at losing a match. That is completely fine and well within your rights. But to say you want to slap the player is just absurd. Yes, Murillo was at fault, but you're forgetting that he is still young. At only 22 years old. He is still growing as a footballer and has been absolutely phenomenal for us this season in that pairing with Milenkovic. And let's not forget the amount of times Murillo has kept us in games or allowed us to secure 3 points. That man has done so many goal line clearances for this club this season alone. He's single-handedly given us quite a few points, and I think people are easily forgetting that because he was error for this goal here. He's got a lot of credit in the bank, and I think such a insane response to that is downright crazy, and it's not appropriate, is it? I know you can be angry at a football match. I have been myself. But to say you want to slap a player is just absurd. It's just embarrassing, really. How these lot are our biggest fan channel on YouTube is beyond me, because they do not represent the majority of the fan base. They spout utter drivel week in, week out, and generally just aren't liked by many of the fan base. It's very strange that they're the ones with the biggest YouTube following, but here we are. Yes, the loss is very disappointing, I completely agree. But Nuno needs to hold some of the blame for this, because this was how he set up the team, this is how he wanted Forest to play, and it just didn't work. He's had a few blunders this season. The main one I can think of is that game against Fulham at home, our first loss of the season. We played 4-4-2 for some reason, and it just didn't work. Nuno has had a few moments like that throughout the season, but all in all, he's been a very good manager, and we're reaping the rewards of having him in charge. So I don't think you can really single out Murillo when he's just playing how he's been told to play, if you know what I'm saying. Obviously, players should make their own choices. They should have the freedom to do so in any particular style that they're playing, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not sure of the dynamics and how that would work out. But the main thing is that this Forest team have shown time and time again that they can come back from big losses, results that haven't gone our way, and turn up and show that they don't matter. And the game against Tottenham is the perfect opportunity to do so. They're not in good form. It'll be a nice win on the road, and it'll be a big win against one of the teams that I don't think we've beaten in the league since we came up, apart from when they came to our place earlier this season. But still, we've not won at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, so, a nice little win there would be another thing ticked off for the great achievements we've had this season. So fingers crossed Ange is still in a job after this European fixture, and, we should be fine. And, the players, they seemed tired. We've been overperforming a lot this season. I say overperforming with big quotation marks because if we've been doing it all season, is it really an overperformance? I'm not sure, but we took it to the death in the FA Cup multiple times, played a lot of football in quite quick succession, so the players are a little bit tired, not a lot of rotation options, it's understandable. Quite frankly, yeah, I was a big proponent of actually doing some winter business, but the club and Nuno thought otherwise, and I think we're seeing the consequences of us not doing anything. Yes, we put out some feelers for some players, but I don't think anything was really concrete that we were actually going to bring somebody in, and I think we should have. Injuries seem to have finally caught up with Nottingham Forest. Olareiner is out, as far as we're aware. Chris Wood was out, only recently returning, and Taro Awoniyi is out again. I don't even know what's wrong with that man. He's just injured. I've no idea. Yes, it's just not great. If we had bought a player or two in the winter, I think things could be looking a little better for us. We might have a few more rotation options for those more important players, for the likes of Olareiner, Chris Wood, Taro Awoniyi at a stretch, something to just make sure our players aren't all dropping like flies with the intense football we've been playing. And as much as I love Taiwo, he just cannot lead the line for us. He had the opportunity to do so in a couple of matches while Chris Wood was recovering, and he didn't really offer much. He was good at holding up the ball, to be fair to him, and he did have a good shot against Villa, I want to say. Man United. He had a good shot against Man United that was saved, but other than that, he's not really done much else, and I just feel like a different striker, a different profile of a forward may have offered us more in those matches. Obviously, it's all speculative, but again, comparisons to Villa, who are in the Champions League, they strengthened in the winter and have been really good for it. We just didn't do that. It's quite disappointing. For example, like a striker or at least an attacker in that window would have been brilliant. Even if it was just one player, that would have been fine. But we just didn't bring in anyone. It's a bit frustrating. I hope it doesn't cost us. Now, Chris Wood is back, and I think Aina is pretty close to coming back as well, so hopefully we should see them against Tottenham. Now, to be fair, we do have Alex Moreno for Aina cover, and while I do think he's a solid player who's put in some good performances for us when he has played, he wasn't brilliant against Everton, but you could say that for a majority of players, so I'm not sure if that's really a criticism you can hit him with, because a lot of them were not great against Everton. The players are clearly feeling the effects of our success this season. The boys were looking tired, and I do feel that some quality rotation options would have helped us quite a bit coming to this busy business end of the season. But we haven't helped things. We've taken our FA Cup games to penalties. Like I've said, we couldn't finish off in the 90 or 120 minutes. So we only have ourselves to blame, really. And yes, going back to the start of the season, I'd have bitten off your hand, very comfortable mid-table finish. But perspective is needed. We've been sitting around the top 3 for a good chunk of the season, and dropping out of a Champions League spot will be classed as a bottle, and for good reason. Dropping out of a European spot would be a humongous bottle. Monumental. And then that head loss would be well deserved. But we're still 3rd. And do I think we'll bottle? No. Finishing in the top 5 is more than enough to guarantee Champions League football this season, and I think Nottingham Forest have more than enough in the tank to secure a top 5 finish. We're still a very solid side, good players throughout, and some decent fixtures coming up as well. All things are pointing to a Nottingham Forest top 5 finish at the end of the season, and I'll be more than happy with that. I would love it if we stayed in 3rd, though it seems very unlikely, so anything top 5 or above, more than happy with. If we do fail to secure any European football somehow, it would be a monumental fall off and a massive bottle. I know it's still a comfortable survival, which is what we all wanted at the start of the season, but we've occupied a European spot for a large part of this season, so to say it would be disappointing would be a massive understatement. The Nottingham Forest of old were bottlers. The most prime example in my mind is when we bottled a 6-goal swing, dropping out of the playoffs after we lost 4-1 to Stoke, as Swansea beat Reading 4-1 as well, I believe. We've also been unable to score an injury time goal since getting promoted to the Premier League, and the countless 3-2 losses we endured after leading in all of those games. But this is a new look Nottingham Forest. We have held on to wins, we have scored winning goals in stoppage time, and we've not bottled a 6-goal swing for the playoffs because we're in the Premier League. This is a team that can hold its bottle and bounce back from awful results. We've seen it enough this season. I've seen it enough this season to think that Nottingham Forest will finish in a Champions League spot next season. I know we all enjoy a head loss. They're cathartic, they're fun, but we need a bit of perspective as well. We are 3rd. Yes, Newcastle have a game in hand and could be in 3rd by the time this video is out if they beat or draw Crystal Palace, I believe. But that is okay, because even if they do win, they're only going to be 2 points ahead of us, so a win would leapfrog us back over the Geordies. They've come into some really good form at a really good time for them. They are probably our main contestants for that top 3 finish. I would be okay if we finished a top 5 position, like I've said, but top 3 would be ideal, and I do think we have enough in us to secure that. But yes, we all have a head loss, and reading Twitter after a loss can be quite funny. Anyways, I've been O2GT, and that has been my semi-regular yap about Nottingham Forest and my thoughts on the current Nottingham Forest situation. I think we'll be okay, I've seen enough. I think we'll be fine. Some people, though, have lost their heads a little too much, so please just calm it down a little bit, please. But what do you lot think? Let me know below, and maybe we can engage in a little bit more of a civilized Nottingham Forest conversation than what I'm seeing on the likes of Facebook and Twitter, the two brilliant cesspits of social media. I'm backing the boys all the way to the Champions League and a possible FA Cup crown as well. Fingers crossed. You Reds. Let's get it, boys.